Do you like throwing away millions of dollars and just watching it float to the bottom of the ocean? Oh, the Sons of Liberty did. This is the Boston Tea Party, and it was a political protest from December 16th, 1773 in Boston Harbor. Britain eventually repealed the taxes it had imposed on the colonists except for the tea tax. Out of the Townshend Acts, they got rid of everything, and then they came back in 1773 and said, now, all that other stuff is gone, but that tea one, we're having a new law called the Tea Tax, the Tea Act of 1773, because all that other stuff can go away. But Great Britain was not about to give up the tax revenue on nearly 1.2 million pounds of tea the colonists drank each year. So much money. In protest, the colonies boycotted tea sold by the British East India Company. Tea smuggled into the colonies increased, although the cost of the smuggled tea soon surpassed that of the tea from the British East India Company with the added tea tax. And it eventually got so expensive to smuggle it in that it cost more to do that. I didn't care. It's more about the principle of the matter. The Sons of Liberty were a group of colonial merchants and tradesmen founded to protest the Stamp Act and other forms of taxation. The group of revolutionists included prominent patriots such as Benedict Arnold, Patrick Henry, Paul Revere, as well as Samuel Adams and John Hancock. Led by Samuel Adams, the Sons of Liberty held meetings rallying against the British Parliament and protested the Griffin's Wharf arrival of Dartmouth, a British East India Company ship carrying tea. By December 16th, 1773, the Dartmouth, the ship, had been joined by her sister ships, Beaver and Eleanor, all three ships loaded with tea from China. That morning, as thousands of colonists gathered at the wharf and its surrounding streets, a meeting was held at the Old South Meeting House, where a large group of colonists voted to refuse to pay taxes on the tea or to allow the tea to be unloaded, stored, sold, or used. Ironically, the ships were actually built in the 13 colonies, and they were owned by people in the 13 colonies. So they're literally throwing their own money away, but Governor Thomas Hutchinson refused to allow the ships to return to Britain and ordered the tea tariff to be paid and the tea unloaded. You will pay this tax and they will unload this tea. The colonists refused, and Hutchinson never offered a satisfactory compromise. That night, a large group of men, many reportedly members of the Sons of Liberty, disguised themselves in Native American dress, boarded the dock ships, and threw 342 chests of tea into the water. So they dressed up like Native Americans, a bunch of pasty white guys dressed up like Native Americans, went out there on the ships and chunked it all into the water. Do you think they fooled anybody? But bunch of pasty white dudes chunking tea in the water? I don't know. One of the said participants, James Hawkes, said, "We then were ordered by our commander to open the hatches and take out all of the chests of tea and throw them overboard, and we immediately proceeded to execute his orders, first cutting and splitting the chests with our tomahawks." They even brought tomahawks. Bunch of pasty white dudes with tomahawks. So as thoroughly to expose them to the effects of the water. They're busting open that tea chest and chunking it all in the water. Let the fish drink this tea. According to participant George Hughes, we were surrounded by British armed ships, but no one made an attempt to resist us. Nobody fought against them. People saw them do it. Everybody knew it was the Sons of Liberty. Bunch of pasty white dudes dressed up like Native Americans, not fooling anybody. But nobody stopped them. Nobody wanted to, really. I mean, is it really worth it? If we go out there and stop these guys, we're just going to end up with another Boston Massacre. Do you really want to be the guy that causes the next Boston Massacre? So nobody stopped them. Did you know it took nearly 3 hours for more than 100 colonists to dump the tea into the Boston Harbor? There was 100 of these pasty white dudes. The chests held more than 90,000 pounds. That's 45 tons of tea, which would today cost nearly $1 million. They threw $1 million into the water because they didn't want to pay taxes that they had not gotten to vote on. We'll pay taxes, but only if we get to vote on them. No taxation without representation. And if we're not represented, we'd rather throw $1 million away. Don't even care about it.